Okay. Okay, so hello and welcome everybody to this extraordinary board meeting of Derby Homes. Our first task this evening is to elect a chair for this meeting, unless or until a new chair of Derby Homes is appointed later. So please can I, without further ado, ask for nominations for chair, please, for this meeting.
Can I suggest
I'd like to speak if possible? Sorry.
Okay, so who are you choosing to speak, David?
Sorry, go on, Ian.
Okay, well, since at the September board meeting, we elected 2 office bearers for 19-20-21. One of whom is the Chair of Governance. And the Chair of Governance has played a lead role in dealing with how this issue should be dealt with. And it seems to me, since we have 2 office bearers, one of whom is the Chair of Governance, who's had a leading role in this, that the straightforward thing is for the Chair of Governance to chair this meeting as one of the only 2 existing 2021 office bearers.
And Sarah, you wanted to say something?
Yes, thank you, David. Ian put it far more eloquently than I could attempt to. I just wanted to say that I agree with that position and I would support Jean's nomination to chair the meeting, and I'd withdraw myself, although Jean kindly put me forward previously. But I agree with Ian. I think that's the proper and appropriate way to deal with tonight, so I would support that nomination.
Does anybody else want to add anything, please? Or suggest another? No? Shall I take that as assent from everybody? Is that okay?
Yes.
And therefore, Jean, if you wouldn't mind taking the chair for the rest of the meeting or until we elect a chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Have we got any apologies?
Yes, we've had one apology from Jean Layton Annabelle.
Okay, thank you. Not aware of any late items? No?
No late items.
Okay, so any declarations of interest other than the normal ones? No? Okay, thank you. So if we have a look at the minutes then, if we go through first for accuracy, so if we look through page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, and page 14. Okay, we all agree that they're an accurate record. Okay, and then if we go through for matters arising, so page 1, or page 3 on the minutes, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14. That's the end. Okay, thank you. So if we look at item 7, change to standing orders. So, David, is this you? Yeah.
It is. Thank you, Chair. This is basically to make sure we make a couple of small changes to the standing orders so that we haven't got the same situation as we had, unfortunately, the last board meeting following the AGM. And what I'm suggesting is that, first of all, we change our standing order 1A, which just says elect or reaffirm the chair, to make it clear that the board are entitled to nominate anybody for the temporary chair for the period of the election of the next actual chair. But in the event that they don't wish to nominate anybody in particular, there would be a sort of seniority laid out in the report that would enable you to, if you like, have a default position that in the event that there was a tie for the election of the chair of that meeting, then you would always have somebody in place to ensure that there's always a chair, and therefore there's always a casting vote, and therefore there's always a chair of Derby Homes, which is rather important as we understand now. I think Alan's indicated he'd like to speak on whether it's on that one, or do you want me to take the other points as well?
Alan, do you want to come in?
Okay, I'm just waiting to see how you wanted to handle this, Jan. Sorry.
Sorry.
On that particular point, David, one of the things I think is missing is the choice of the board before you get the seniority. Because obviously, if the board particularly wants to appoint somebody as the chairman of the board of the meeting at that point, then I think they should have that option rather than just automatically going through seniority. And that you've also got to bear in mind that some people might not want to actually chair the meeting.
Yes, of course, and obviously if they don't wish to, then nobody will force them. So, reading the report again, I agree that I've not made that clear enough, so I will make that amendment if if the board agrees to that. So, subject to what Lucy's about to say.
Yeah, Lucy, do you want to come in?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's the point I was going to make is again on the actual wording, which varies slightly between paragraph 4.6 and I think it's 2.2. In terms of vice chair point 1 is longer continuous serving, but it doesn't. The two things that I think this doesn't cover are whether it's if it was somebody who had been the vice chair. And who then became chair and then became vice chair again. They may not be the longer continuous serving vice chair, but they might have had a longer period as the chair overall and a longer period as vice chair overall and a longer period. I just think the thing is, how do we measure it? If you move from vice chair to chair and back to vice chair, does that actually give you more seniority than if you've been a vice chair for a shorter period, for a longer period than the person's been back into vice chair? I'm very good at contriving things, you see here.
So, if I could try and respond, I think if I accept Alan's point, Lucy, then that effectively would allow the board to
be flexible on this.
Choose its own chair for the meeting, as he rightly said, which was my intention. I've obviously written it very poorly, and then you're really into this is an indicative list of precedents from which the board can choose its own chair at all times. Of course it can.
Yes.
So I need clearly to reword that, which I will attempt to do. If you wouldn't mind, I'll take that away and get exact wording and bring it back to the next board meeting to agree it, unless you've got a particular set of words you wish me to use. Already, I need to think about exactly how to phrase that to get your intentions clear. Is that okay?
Is that okay, Lucy?
Yeah, and I think particularly to Alan as well.
Yeah. Ian, do you want to come in as well?
Well, I did, but I think what David said probably answers what I was going to say, in the sense that I think the point Alan made was a valid point. The point Lucy made is a valid point, but what I was going to suggest is that we shouldn't spend time tonight going into the details of what Lucy had suggested. With Alan's suggestion and what's in the paper already, it seemed to me we had a good basis for going forward, and we do have a year in which to have a look at whether there's anything in that needs a tweak, and we could do that during the coming year if it seemed that there was some part of it might cause a problem.
Yeah, I'll do my best and bring it back to the next meeting for exact wording, but if we agree the principles, if that's okay.
I'm happy, yes.
Okay. Any other comments on that? We all in approval of that? Okay.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Sorry, and then the second point, just to be clear, this probably isn't needed now, as hopefully we will elect chair in a minute, but it was really to say that in the event that we couldn't get hold of a chair or vice chairs for the appointments panel, or to pick up Alan's earlier point that they didn't wish to be, sorry, as Lucy's earlier point, they didn't wish to be sorry, it was Alan's, beg your pardon, that they didn't wish to be involved in the appointments panel, or they weren't available for one reason. I wanted to insert the word normally into the panel, because it should be for the board to determine who that panel is. We would expect normally there to be a chair or vice chair involved, but in some cases there may not be that availability. So that's just another minor tweak while we've got the opportunity.
Seems a good idea.
So, yeah, are we all okay with that point as well?
Agreed.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so moving on to item 8, and I can see that Bob has put a comment in about Jen not being at the meeting. So don't know if you heard, Bob, but Jen has actually given her apologies. Okay.
I did hear that she could apologize. I just wanted to know whether she'd apologise for turning up late, or whether she was actually turning up at all.
Jackie,
The apologies for not attending the meeting.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So item 8. So David, are you leading on this again?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Again, this is to repeat the election for the chair of Derby Homes. So I'm just typing in as we speak, effectively the poll for in a minute. But in effect, because there was a tie at the last meeting, you all know we need to proceed to an election again. And unless there are further nominations, we obviously need to determine between Mike and Bob. So if you're okay, Jan, do you want to invite people to make a short statement, or?
Yeah, if Bob, do you want to go first?
Sorry, Bob, you're on mute.
I have no preference which way I go, so I'll go first if you want me to.
Thank you.
It feels like I'm reading from a cue card on the television, this does. On becoming an involved tenant with Derby Homes in early 2012, my ambition was to serve the board as a chair at some point in my career. And I've been on a journey to achieve that ambition by fulfilling different roles within Derby Homes and trying to upskill myself. Being an involved tenant since 2012, serving on a tenant panel, member of the City Board, which gave me operational board, and subsequently for the past 6 years as a tenant board member, during which time I've served as vice chair of the operational board, various other chairs, and I've also done chair of governance as well. So I've taken quite a few roles over the years to try and gain experience. I am the customer service champion. I'm also on the See the Person nationally, and I serve on virtual panels within the business. So I believe that I've gained a great, whilst I've not got the academic abilities, you could say, if that's a better word, I do have a good understanding of the business, which I feel is important. And I've been round to getting honest views from managers and teams on the ground to try and feed back to Derby Homes. So I've got a good understanding, as I say. Derby Homes state that they are committed to putting customers first, and they are at the forefront of the business and believe heavily in tenant participation and consultation with the tenants, taking tenants' views into consideration. Nationally, the NFA supports and promotes tenant engagement, and tenants are the driving force for change within social housing and consultation, and giving tenants' views is part of that process. Therefore, a positive message that this is the case would be to appoint a tenant as a chair of Derby Homes Board. I feel it is the right thing to do. It also sends a clear message that not only does Derby Homes put customers first and value their input, but it's evidenced by appointing a tenant to lead the chair as chair to lead through the upcoming changes. Experience of chairing the operational board and chairing the DACP has given me the necessary skills needed to be chair of Derby Homes. I've also served 12 months, as I said, as on the governance committee as well. I believe that as a chair, you have to be open and honest is paramount, and being able to be fair and respect others and their views as key skills of the board chair, and I do believe I can do that. I have what I believe are good interpersonal skills, which I've enhanced since the start of my time at Derby Homes. Bear with me a second, the screen's just frozen. I feel that with experience to date, my Derby Homes, I'm ready and willing to take on the challenge of leading Derby Homes as chair and have gained recognition within Derby Homes for the work that I've achieved. And to use the cliche, you know it makes sense to appoint attendants Derby Homes because that's what we want nationally. And I'm just about finished now. I thank the board for their time and allowing me to make this statement in support of my application for the chair of Derby Homes Board, and I thank every one of you for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Mike, do you want to go?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. There's no doubt that the next 12 months is going to be one of the most challenging in the recent history of Derby Homes. We've got COVID coming back with a vengeance. We've heard a little bit about it there. We will face all the challenges that we had from the first wave, plus we're going to face increased unemployment, increased poverty, and increased homelessness. This will impact largely on the more vulnerable people in our society, which generally tend to be our customers are represented overwhelmingly in that area. It's vitally important that we continue to work through that to meet these challenges. We've also got national challenges coming on there. We've heard, anybody who's read any of the housing press recently will know about increased regulation. Obviously, it's going to be valuable for our next board meeting that we've got the new housing ombudsman coming. What was very interesting, and Bob will remember this as well because he was also on this call, is that the recent meeting of the NFA for board members is that some research had been done about Almos and about why they were being taken back into house. That a few years ago, the overwhelming reason for that was financial, that councils were making a financial case, often overstated, but that they could save a lot of money by taking Almos back in-house. That is no longer the case. The two most important reasons now are compliance, and I've touched on that we will need to be working very, very strongly to make sure that we are absolutely clear as a board that we are meeting all the new compliance standards. But the other most important reason, and the one that's risen to the top of the list, is not being aligned with the parent council. And that's where I feel that all these things start to come together. I said in the first meeting that one of the early meetings I had as chair was being summoned to the council along with Maria and being told in no uncertain terms that within 6 months we were going to be taken in-house. That's no longer the case now. We are now working towards becoming a preferred partner for the council, working along with the council. All these challenges, particularly to do with increased homelessness, regulation, COVID, all these things are going to be absolutely vital to us working together with the council. We've moved a long way, but we've not got all the way yet. We've still not got an extension to our contract. That's still awaiting for it. I feel that what I've proved in my time as chair is that I've got the skills and the awareness to work with the council. I've worked very, very closely with leading councillors from two of the major groups, that we've moved that forward, and I think I have the skills and I have the awareness to build this relationship with the council, with senior councillors, with senior officers, and therefore I think I've got the awareness and the skills to lead the board through the next 12 months of these increased challenges. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Mike. Right, David, can we go back to you then to organise the voting?
Of course, yeah. So in the last meeting we did pause the broadcast at this point so that you could take a vote.
Oh, hang on.
Do you wish to do the same? Sorry.
Yes, I think we do, but I've also got Lucy wanting to make a comment as well.
Thank you. I think there'd been a suggestion that we might be allowed to ask there's two things. One is that I think we can ask if there are any other candidates, but also I think there was a suggestion we might be able to ask the candidates questions. I can't. You're the expert, or David, between the two of you.
Well,
in terms of process.
I mean, it's for Jeanne and the board to determine whether you wish to do that or not. I think Jeanne and Ian did have a conversation beforehand, and the report itself is suggesting that you don't, because I think you all know each other and you've heard from both candidates. But should you wish to do so as a board, if you vote for that, then we could do that. But really, I think the consensus was before the meeting, at least, that you've probably got enough information on which to base your decision, if that's okay.
Are you okay with that, Lucy?
Yeah, I'm fine. I didn't want to feel that we missed out on that, and other people might have had that burning question that they wanted to ask.
Sure.
Is everybody? I'll just check, David. Is everybody else okay with not asking questions?
Yes, that's what's in the paper. We said we would proceed the way we proceeded with the original meeting, and that's what the paper before us says, and I think we should stick to that.
Okay.
Agreed.
Thank you. I think, Lucy, you're quite right. Can I just confirm that we have no other candidates who want to stand for chair as well? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The other issue, Jeanne, is just to check that you wish to suspend the broadcast in the way we did last time, so that we're replicating as far as possible the meeting from last time.
Is everybody okay with us suspending the broadcast as we did last time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you could do that, Paul, is that okay? Thank you.
Right. I'd like to thank everybody for re-electing me for a further term of office, and particularly I'd like to thank Bob, not only for everything he's done to support in the past, but for mounting a very robust challenge and making some very, very valid points. And so thank you, Bob, for that. If we can, and also like to thank Jeanne for the way that she's conducted the meeting so far. I'll be very happy to continue, Jeanne, but I will take over.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you, Mike.
Right. If we could then
Can I please say something, or is that out of order?
Yes, certainly, Bob. Sorry. Yes.
Wait down. Don't. You'd be silly.
Okay. Congratulations to Mike being reappointed as Chair of Derby Homes. I respect the decision of the board and the appointment and look forward to working with Mike going forward. One thing with Mike we've certainly done, we've made history. And I can't say that much in my life. We got a tie here, and I don't think there's many people who can sit down and say we made history today. So we did. We both got a tie and we made history.
Don't forget what you want.
And we took it right to an extraordinary general meeting, I think, which is the first time, I believe, in Derby Homes history. I would like to thank those members of the board who give me their support. Yep, no matter who voted for me or who didn't vote for me, we have to carry on as a team and work as a team, and that's the important thing. And this again has given me, should the occasion arise next year, it's given me the confidence to stand again should that be a case.
What Ian told you to say.
Now, if I could just bring something up, Mike, on the previous agenda, item 4, subparagraph 4.1, third sentence, stated in the last sentence, however, if Mike decides to retire from the board in 2021, then the position will become vacant at the AGM in 2021. On the new tonight's papers, item 8, that sentence is missing, and paragraph 4 has now got subparagraph numbers as well. Is there a reason for that? And the second question, you may have to look into this, the second question is, can it be clarified for the board that as it stands, what orders business is going to be conducted at the AGM next year? Will it be election of chair first? Because yourself will not have been confirmed in role at that point, I wouldn't have thought, should you wish to extend, and that's been approved in principle. Or will the order of business be moved around to accommodate the extension of the term of office, should you be reappointed going past the 9-year point before the election? What I'm trying to say in simple words really is, as it stands at the minute, the paperwork seems to suggest that next year, if you want to carry on, it's all been approved, then that would be going through at the AGM. But the first order of business is the election of a chair, and I think, if I've got it right, correct me if I've got it wrong, anybody, that you'd be electing a chair who hadn't been elected, yourself not elected for chair at that point. So I just thought that may be worth looking into, and just a bit of investigation there.
As to why there's a change, Bob, I've no idea. I've obviously, like yourself, I've had no hand in preparing these papers, so I can't answer that. As to your second suggestion, I think you've raised some valid points, and I think it's something for the governance committee to look at before, so that we are absolutely clear before the next AGM.
Yeah, we don't want to put out next year because we want things to,
Yeah, that's right. We want it clear before the meeting. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that was just my point. I thought it's in relation to the election of chair, so I thought this would be a good point to bring it in. Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
If I could, Chair, I can probably answer a couple of Bob's points straight away. That number one, he's absolutely right about the election of the chair, and the next meeting following the AGM, we will need to change the order, because we really should have had the election of the chair, as we have tonight, first item. So absolutely right about that, Bob. The second thing is, when the board appoints an appointments panel for the selection of board members, then obviously it is delegating that authority to that appointments panel to make an appointment or not.
Yeah.
So it's the selection of that appointment panel for next year which will determine whether Mike's period is extended or not for the period, and therefore he would be eligible at that point. So that's all subject to later confirmation. But ultimately it's for the board to determine all these matters, of course, but that's how I understand it for now.
Yeah, I was just curious after this time we've not been caught short, but it's just been sort of
course,
proactive in making sure that all the dots are there and all the I's and etc. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Bob, for your thanks to me and your ongoing support. I appreciate that. If we could now move on to item 9, the appointment of vice chairs for Derby Homes. That's open to...
Mike, sorry, Ian's indicated he wanted to speak as well.
Oh, sorry, Ian. Yes, I'm...
Still valid, sorry.
I think what you said, David, probably answered what I was going to raise. I presume what Bob was getting at is that there are two issues to be considered next year. One is, and this applies to all of us at some point, whether any of us are going to be allowed to continue beyond the period of office, given that the national body has now said that should be 6 years. So there's a decision there as to what is Derby Homes going to do about anyone who comes up and seeks an extension. That needs to be decided in advance of an appointment being decided, because clearly you would be putting the cart before the horse if that wasn't done. So I'm taking what you said, sort of covered that situation, that there would need to be clarification as to whether someone was continuing or not, and then there would be an election for the chair if it was agreed the person was continuing. I presume that's what there's the sum and substance of what you were saying, David.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
Ian, I knew you could put it a lot better than me.
You raised the point in the first place, Bob, so thanks to you. Yes. Okay, if we are now ready to move on to item 9, appointment of vice chairs. It's open to any nominations from the board, but if I'm allowed to nominate from the chair, I would nominate Bob and Sarah as existing vice chairs to continue in that role.
I would like to second that.
Happy to do that, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any further nominations? Okay, in that case, we'll consider that Bob and Sarah have been re-elected as vice chairs, and I look forward to continuing to work with both of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If we now move on to item 10, appointments to the operational board, David.
David, David, before we start, under item 9, there was also under 4.3, Alan had raised the point previously. I don't think we've looked at that under that.
Well, in terms of whether there's one or two vice chairs, if the board's consensus is that they wish Bob and Sarah to continue, then obviously that implies a selection of two. But obviously, should you wish to argue strongly for one, then we'd have a different issue. So
I just think because it had been raised at the previous meeting, it just needs clarifying that people we have agreed for two, and that everybody is happy with that.
Yeah, if you could confirm that, if that's okay, Mike.
Yeah, I would strongly support that we have 3 constituencies on the board: independents, tenants, and councillors, and that of the 3 officers, chair and 2 vice chairs, that one from each should be represented to give a fair balance.
Can I support that, Mike, and just point out that at the meeting on the 24th, we had a chair and vice chair standing for election, and we had the other vice chair chairing that meeting. So it was very handy to have Sarah chairing the previous meeting as a vice chair. So I think it's something which has worked in the past, and it gives a role to all 3 constituencies on the board, and I think it's valuable for that in itself.
And if I could just interject, during the past year, there's been times where there's not been 2, like a chair and vice chair. The third person is also been asked to do things, so it does hold water. And based on, like Ian's just said as well, so I think having 2 vice chairs and a chair, it does sometimes merit it quite often.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. And again, thanks to Sarah for actually fulfilling that role so well in the last meeting.
My pleasure.
So item 10. David?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And again, we have the final, if you like, element of our holdover from last time is to select board members, full board members, to be members of the operational board. And we have 1 tenant, 1 council and 1 independent board member slot in order to represent all 3 constituencies. So we have Bob nominated for tenant, we have Jeanne nominated for independent, but we do have 2 nominations for Lucy and for Alan for the council board member slots. So the first question is really to confirm or otherwise tenant and independent slots, and then we could proceed to an election for the other 2, assuming that they both wish to continue to be nominated.
I do. That's Lucy.
Alan, do you still wish?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yep. Okay. First of all, as David said, can we confirm Bob and Jan as appointments to the operational board?
Absolutely, Chair, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, agreed.
In that case, if we could then move to an election following the practice that we've just had for chair, would invite both Alan and Lucy to make a brief statement before we move to a vote. Alan, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I wasn't really prepared to make a statement. I just want to have a bit more involvement in what Derby Homes does, and the operational board seems very logical for me to do that, and that's why I would like to be on the board.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Lucy?
It's quite interesting because I've only been on one meeting of the operational board because I only came onto it since I was re-elected at the annual meeting. I don't know who was on it before that. And I hadn't put myself forward before because there isn't an enormous amount of Derby Homes property within Little Over Ward, and I felt that it was better for somebody who was more on the front line of issues to be in that role. But now, having seen the sort of agendas that the operational board considers, I've actually thought it actually gives you a freedom of being able to be independent and having an overarching view by not being somebody with lots of council housing in that area. So it's something, it's my appetite has been whetted by the opportunity, and I'd very much like to continue for a bit longer.
Okay, thank you, Lucy. Paul, can we pause again and move to a vote? Okay, thank you, Paul. I'd just like to say, following the vote, I can congratulate Lucy as being appointed to the operational board as a main board member.
Thank you.
Okay, right. If we can now move on to item 11, board member appointments panel. We need an appointments panel for recruitment of a tenant board member and for tenant operational board members. As it says here, that we will need these people to be nominated. David, do you want to add anything?
Just briefly, Chair, we actually need both the full tenant board member vacancy we now unfortunately have, plus we have a number of operational board member vacancies as well. In the past, we've always had, as we just confirmed, normally we would have at least a chair or a vice chair involved. Certainly, as it involves tenants, the normal practice would be to involve the tenant representative of one of those three roles. So that would be the normal practice in the past, but the other two roles are for those who could see themselves getting involved in selecting tenant board members.
Well, for what it's worth, I'd like to continue in that role because I've always found it very fulfilling, and I think we've done well with the selections that we've had in the past, and I'd like to continue. If that's that I put myself forward.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bob. I was hoping you would say that. I think, as David said, I think as it's a tenant operational board member, then it's vital that you are heavily involved in this and take a lead role in it. Any other self-nominations?
I would be interested. Again, Mike, I've always I've been involved, particularly working very well with Bob and looking particularly at the operational board members as well. So if yourself and Ian are okay with me being involved as the independent, I would like to.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that, Jan.
I'd certainly support that, Jan. Your involvement in the operational board again gives you great knowledge of this stuff.
Thank you.
So we need another member.
I'm happy to do it, but I was holding back because I feel it's something that I don't need to do. But if nobody else is coming forward and we need another person on the panel, then I'm happy to do it.
Thank you, Lucy. You're not being knocked over in the rush to take over. So if everybody's happy with that we've got 3 members, Bob, Jean and Lucy. That's agreed?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much.
Mike, can I just interrupt you? What about we've got an operational board, a main board slot as well. Would the same panel do the main board?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought it was. I just got to check.
Yeah.
Because
I was assuming that we'd have the same panel.
I would have thought so, but I wasn't wanting to make assumptions just in case.
No. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Right, that brings us to the end of the formal business. All we've got is the date and time of next meeting, Thursday the 26th of November at 6 o'clock. Do I take it will still be Skype? We're not moving to Teams by that time?
Afraid so, yeah. I think that may well happen in the fullness of time, but for the moment, at least this is working fairly well. So thank you very much. But yeah,
okay.
That's the intention.
There's Mike and others. There's an expectation that Derby will be moving into Tier 2 imminently, and therefore we're going further from real meetings and.
No. I wasn't meaning a real meeting. Which
going to Teams meeting.
Yeah, Microsoft Teams. No, real
right, either way, Teams or Skype. I'm fine either.
No. I thought you were leaking something from the COVID briefing then, Lucy, that you'd picked up that we were moving to Tier 2.
Well, if the Telegraph says we're moving to Tier 2, it must be.
Yeah. Numbers are going up.
Right. Okay, thank you all very much for your attendance tonight, and again, thanks to everybody. Thank you to Bob for your challenge to this, and as you said, we've made a little bit of history tonight, and so thank you very much for that, and thank you to the board for your confidence.